Synthesis of thyroid hormone is one of the very important questions asked in the examination. In this video, I am going to tell you the anatomy of thyroid gland and its histology along with the steps of synthesis of thyroid hormone. Everyone, welcome back to HM Learnings. I am Harshita, the creator of HM Learnings, where students come to clear their concept and to get the study material. Make sure that you have subscribed my channel. You can also follow HM Learnings on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter for daily updates. We have also started uploading all our content on website called as SlideShare. You can easily download and clip our slides from that website. I will also share the link of this video slides in the description box. So you just need to click on that link and you will be on the SlideShare. So now we will talk about our today's topic, that is about the thyroid gland and the synthesis which is being happening inside the thyroid gland. So first of all, little bit about the anatomy, that it is a butterfly shaped gland present in the front of trachea. It has two loops, right and left, which are connected by a bridge of a tissue called as the isthmus. And sometimes we can even see a pyramidal loop which is arising from the isthmus in front of the larynx. So this is a diagram showing the same thing, that this is the trachea, this is the thyroid cartilage, and this is a right loop, this is a left loop, and this right and the left loop, they are connected by the means of isthmus, and from the isthmus sometimes another loop arises which is called as a pyramidal loop, this thing. Now we can talk about its histology. Because in order to understand that how the synthesis of the thyroid gland happens, we need to understand its histology. Okay, so here this is a cross section of the thyroid gland. So you can see that the endocrine part of the thyroid gland, it is made up of the thyroid follicles. These are the follicles. These are basically the spherical follicles, and these spherical follicles, they are lined by a single layer of a epithelial cell. Now these epithelial cells, they are flat or cuboidal when it is inactive, but when the thyroid gland is active, these glands become columnar in the shape. Now the lumen of these thyroid follicles, they are filled with a proteinaceous colloid, which is consisting predominantly the thyroglobin. So we are going to see what is the thyroglobin and what is its role in the thyroid hormone synthesis in the upcoming slide. So these are the thyroid follicles lined by a single layer of the epithelial cell, which will be then supported by the basement membrane. There is a colloid which is having a protein concentration, and predominantly it has a thyroglobin. So between this thyroglobin we can see the capillaries, because endocrine gland needs to have a rich blood supply. So here it is showing that this is a connective tissue called as a stroma, as well as there is blood vessels or the capillaries. Okay, parafollicle cells are also there, also called as a C cell, involved in the synthesis of calcitonin hormone. Okay, so this already we have covered. Now the hormones of the thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland basically forms three types of the hormone, but principal one is basically the T4 tetraiodothyronine. So we know that tetraiodothyronine means that there would be 4 iodines. Triiodothyronine means T3, and reverse T3 is actually the structure of the T3 is reversed, so it is called as a reverse T3. Now the steps. So in order to make the concept easy, what we have done, we actually divide the steps of the synthesis of the thyroid hormone. So first of all, there will be uptake of the thyroid iodide by the thyrocytes. Then the transport of the iodide occurs, organification, coupling, conjugation, endocytosis of the iodinated thyroglobin, as well as there is release of the thyroid hormone. So we are going to see one by one. So for that I am going to draw and make you understand that how this whole process happens. So here I am going to draw the thyroid globulin, which I already, not thyroid globulin, the thyroid follicle. Now this thyroid follicle, these are lined by the columnar cells, because we are assuming that the thyroid gland is active. These are the columnar cells, and the columnar cells has nucleus. Okay. So these are basically what? These are the polarized epithelium. Polarized epithelium means, if I draw like this is a basement membrane. On the basement membrane, this is the columnar cell which is resting. Okay. So this membrane is called as the apical membrane. Facing the lumen of the follicle, it is called as an apical membrane. And the another membrane is called as the, which is on the lateral side, is called as a basolateral membrane. Okay, so now after this, what is happening, that the iodide, in the diet we have not iodine, we have iodide. So this iodide gets absorbed by the intestine and it enters inside the circulation. So we have seen that outside the thyroid follicles we have capillaries. So by the help of the capillaries, what is happening, the iodide will be uptaken by this thyrocytes. These columnar cells are also called as the thyrocytes. So on this basolateral membrane, there is one channel which helps in the uptake of the iodide, and this channel is called as a sodium iodide sympater. Okay, so sympater means what? The sodium as well as the iodide, they are going to be transported in the same direction. So what is happening, that 2 sodium and 1 iodide is entering inside the thyrocyte from the capillary. Okay, and this is basically an example of secondary active transport. Now after entering inside the thyrocyte, the iodide has to reach here. Where? In the colloid. This is the colloid. So the iodide has to reach from here to the colloid, from the thyrocyte to the colloid. Okay, so for that, on the apical membrane we have another transporter, not the red color, I will take black. Okay, so on the apical membrane there is another transporter which is called as the chloride iodide exchanger. Okay, so chloride will go inside and iodide will go outside. So this is exchanger, not a sympater, and this is also known as a pedrin. Another name is this. Okay, so now we have iodide that has crossed the circulation, reached into the thyrocyte, and from the thyrocyte it has reached inside the colloid. Okay, so why it has reached into the colloid? For that again we have to move to the follicle cell. So because it is a bit mess, so I'm going to draw the thyrocyte again here. So this thyrocyte is going to synthesize the molecule or the protein, okay, the glycoprotein, which is called as the thyroglobin. So the abbreviation here is TG. So I'm using TG. Now this TG is synthesized inside the inside the thyrocyte, and this TG will be released by the means of exocytosis or the secretory pathway in the lumen. So the TG has come into the colloid. Okay, so TG is what? TG is glycoprotein. Glycoprotein means the some part is carbohydrate and some part is protein. So we know that the thyroid hormone has what? It has the tyrosine. Okay, tyrosine is an amino acid. So what is happening? I'm trying to draw the structure of a thyroglobin. This is a thyroglobin which has carbohydrate as well as the amino acids. And some of the amino acids are what? Some of the amino acids are the tyrosine. Okay, so in order to make the thyroid hormone, we need to have the tyrosine, and tyrosine is present in the thyroglobin, and thyroglobin has entered from the thyrocyte into the colloid. So definitely the iodide, it has to enter inside the follicle. Okay, inside it has to enter inside the colloid to reach to the tyrosine. Okay, so now we have understood that why the iodide, it has to reach the colloid, because the thyroglobin is also there in the colloid. Now at the interference, if I draw it completely, if I draw the follicle, this is a follicle and this is the colloid region. Okay, so at the interference between this part, at the interference between the thyrocyte and the colloid, okay, what happens? The process of organification happens. So organification means what? First thing is that which is going to happen in this process is that the iodide will be get oxidized to form iodine, okay, and then this iodine will be get incorporated at the tyrosine residues of thyroglobin, these sites, okay, to form monoiodothyronine or the diiodothyronine. Okay, so what is happening that after getting oxidized, this iodine will be get attached to the tyrosine residues. So it forms MIT if one iodine attaches, and it forms two iodide. If the two iodine attaches, it forms diiodothyronine. Okay, so this is called as the organification. Both these things are called as an organification. Now how it happens? How does the oxidation happens? For this we need to again draw the apical membrane of the thyroglobin. This is the apical membrane. We have one transporter which is called as a sodium iodide transporter. Okay, then we have an enzyme. This enzyme is named as thyroid peroxidase. Now this thyroid peroxidase does what? It is converting the iodide to iodine, okay, and it involves the presence of H2O2, okay, because H2O2 is what? It is the oxidizing agent. So it is oxidizing the iodide into the iodine, okay, and it will also help in the conjugation, or you can say in the incorporation of this iodine to the thyroglobulin, to the tyrosine residue of the thyroglobulin to form MIT and DIT. Okay, so this is, I think this is clear. So this happens here at this segment, it happens. Okay, so now in the lumen, what we have in the lumen is that we have MIT and we have DIT. Now in the lumen we have another thing which is happening, which is called as a coupling reaction. Okay, so coupling reaction means what? So I will just erase this all things so that it becomes understandable. So again, this is a thyroid follicle and this is the colloid. We are just interested in the colloid now. So now what is happening? We have MIT and we have DIT. This is a thyroglobulin, and on thyroglobulin we have tyrosine residues. So this one iodine will get attached here and one iodine will get attached here, one here, at the 3rd position, at the 5th position. This is DIT, this is MIT. Now what happens? If MIT combines with DIT, we have T3. Okay, because 3 iodines are there. This is called as a coupling reaction. If DIT combines with DIT, it forms T4. Okay, so now I am again drawing the thyroglobulin. So here you can see one, and then you have ether bond between this, then this. Okay, this is what? This is called as T3. They are still attached to thyroglobulin. You have to remember this thing. Then this thing, ether bond, and we have this. So this is I and this is again I. Okay, so here one more and here one more. So 4 iodine. So it will form T4. Okay, but they are still attached to the thyroglobulin. So this is what you mean by the coupling reaction, again catalyzed by thyroid peroxidase enzyme in the presence of H2O2. Okay, so again I will draw the colloid or the thyrocyte. This is thyrocyte. This is a thyroid follicle, sorry. This is thyrocyte. This is colloid. In the colloid you have thyroglobulin, which is attached to T3 and T4. Okay, so now you have to remember that the thyrocyte, you can say the T3 and T4, which is attached to thyroglobulin, they are present in the colloid till the stimulus is not there. When the stimulus came, the further steps will happen, and that is why when a person stops eating iodide in their diet, what happens? There is no hypothyroidism, there is no any kind of thyroid deficiency, iodine deficiency up to 2 months. Why? Because the thyroid hormone stores the thyroid gland stores the thyroid hormone. In which form? The T3 and T4, they are attached to thyroglobulin. So now what happens? This thing, okay, so this thing again will be enclosed inside a vesicle. It will be get endocytosis. Okay, it will be get endocytosed. This endocytosed vesicle will then fuse inside the thyrocyte. Okay, remember, inside the thyrocyte with the lysosome to form what? To form lysoendosome. And here what happens? This is the thyroglobulin. Okay, this is T3 which is attached to this, and this is T4 attached to this. So the enzymes which are there inside the lysosome, they cause the cleavage of these bonds to release T3 and T4. Now this T3 and T4, this is the basolateral membrane, so by that they will enter inside the circulation. Okay, so with this we are done with that. First there will be iodide uptake that occurs by the help of the sodium iodide synthetase on the apical membrane, on the basolateral membrane. Then the iodide enters into the colloid, which occurs by the help of a pyridine exchanger present on the apical membrane of the thyrocyte. Then there is organification which occurs at the interference between the thyrocyte and the colloid. It involves the oxidation as well as the incorporation of the iodine at the third carbon of the tyrosine residue of thyroglobulin. Okay. Then this reaction is basically catalyzed by the thyroid peroxidase in the presence of H2O2, and that H2O2 is provided by the another apical protein called as a dual oxidase 2. So if you don't remember this, you don't need to remember. You just don't need to force yourself. It's okay if you don't able to remember this protein name. Now the TG will enter inside the lumen of the thyroid follicle by the exocytosis. This is already I have cleared you, and at that time there will be incorporation, first at the third carbon to form MIT, and then at the fifth carbon to form the DIT. Okay, then there is coupling reaction, which is already clear. This also occurs in the presence of the H2O2 catalyzed by TPO, thyroid peroxidase. And then we have endocytosis of the iodinated thyroglobin. They will be then fused with the lysosome to form lysoendosome, and then there will be a cleavage of the thyroglobin to release T3 and T4. On stimulus, the T3 and T4 will be released in the form of the secretory vesicle. They pass through this transporter and enter the circulation. Transport occurs basically in the form of two. Major transport is by the means of binding to the plasmid proteins, thyroid binding pre-albumin called as a transthyretin, and thyroid binding globulin. So thyroid binding pre-albumin has a maximum, the highest capacity to bind to the thyroid hormone, but the highest ability to bind to the thyroid hormone is of the thyroid binding globulin. Okay, they maintain the buffer pool so that what happens, there is a slow release of the thyroid hormone, not a sudden increase in the T4 and the T3 in the levels, and it also allows the long lasting action of the hormone. Free form is a physiological active form which exerts all the physiological action as well as regulates the thyroid hormone secretion. Peripheral conversion, very very important point. What is peripheral conversion? 90% of the thyroid hormone secretion is T4, but still some of the peripheral glands, what they do, peripheral organs, what they do, they convert T4 to T3 by the help of a deiodinase. Why? Because T3 is more biologically active. So why thyroid hormone, if T3 is more biologically active, why thyroid hormone is secreting T4 in about 90%? Why the thyroid hormone is not secreting T3 90%? Okay, so this question I think you can answer in the comment section. I will also clear this question in the coming video, where I will talk about the regulation of the thyroid hormone secretion, what is the hypothalamic level of regulation, pituitary level of regulation, as well as the difference between T4 and T3, and why thyroid hormone forms predominantly T4, not T3. Okay, so with this we are at the end of this video. If you like this video, please like, share and comment. Let me know your suggestions for the upcoming video. Any doubt you can ask me in the comment section, and please follow us on our official pages, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and you can also check our slides, download it and learn from it. Till then, keep learning.